The winter wind swept through the streets of Boston, carrying with it the sound of car horns, rushing footsteps, and distant chatter. Quincy Market glowed with warm lights. Christmas decorations hung from every corner. And crowds moved in a hurry, everyone chasing something. A paycheck, a deadline, a train, but one sound did not belong to the chaos: a lonely violin. It drifted through the cold air, soft, delicate, trembling. 12-year-old Emily Carter stopped in her tracks. She'd been walking home from school, clutching a worn-out backpack, mentally preparing for another quiet evening in her small apartment with her mom, who worked double shifts at the local hospital. That sound wasn't familiar, but it felt important. Emily followed it around the corner, into a small plaza. There, beside a brick wall dusted with snow, stood an elderly man with silver hair and a long weathered coat. His violin case sat open beside him, barely holding a few crumpled dollar bills. His eyes were closed, and the music poured out of him like something ancient and fragile. Emily stood frozen. She had never heard anything so beautiful. When the piece ended, she clapped, shy, small, but genuine. The old man opened his eyes. Warm, blue, tired. "You liked it?" he asked with a gentle smile. Emily nodded. "It was, I don't know. It made my chest feel funny," he chuckled. "That's how you know the music reached you." She hesitated, then asked, "Where did you learn to play like that?" The old man lowered his violin. "Years ago. Back when I still believed music could save the world." "Did it?" she asked. "Sometimes," he whispered. "It saved me." Emily started passing through that plaza every day after school. Sometimes she didn't talk, she just listened. The old man, who eventually introduced himself as Mr. Alden, always played something different. A folk tune from the Appalachians, a classical piece from Bach, a melody he composed himself. One evening, after a particularly rough day, Emily appeared quieter than usual. Her eyes were puffy, and her backpack hung heavily from one strap. Alden stopped playing. "What happened?" he asked softly. Emily hesitated. "Kids at school, they made fun of me again." "For what?" "For being boring, I guess. For not having hobbies. For not going to dance or cheer or anything, mister." Alden tapped the top of his violin case. "You ever try to play one of these?" Emily shook her head. "I can't. We can't afford stuff like that, mister." Alden thought for a moment. Then he gently placed the violin in her hands. It felt like holding something sacred. "Here," he said. "Try the bow. Don't worry about the sound, just feel it." Emily pressed the bow to the strings. The first sound was scratchy, terrible. She winced. But Mr. Alden smiled. "Perfect. That's exactly how everyone starts. Even you, especially me." A small laugh escaped her lips. For the first time in weeks, she felt lighter. Their informal lessons began silently, without announcement, without rules, without schedule. Emily would show up after school. Alden would nod. She would sit on the small bench while he showed her how to place her fingers, how to hold the bow, how to breathe. Sometimes he corrected her gently. Other times he told stories. Stories of playing in Chicago jazz bars in the 70s. Of performing in small orchestras where the pay was little but the joy was big. Of losing his wife years ago and falling into a quiet loneliness music struggled to fill. Emily listened to every word, storing them like treasures. One snowy afternoon, Emily brought him a paper cup of hot chocolate. "For you," he said shyly. Alden blinked in surprise. "For me? You're outside in the cold all day." "I thought it might help." He took the cup with shaking hands. "Thank you, Emily. You have no idea how much this means," she smiled. "Actually, I think I do." Weeks turned into months. Emily grew confident. Her notes sharpened. Her bowing steadied. Even her posture changed, more upright, more sure of herself. One day, after she played a short melody nearly flawlessly, Mr. Alden wiped the corner of his eye. "You're special," he said. "Do you know that?" Emily shook her head. Well, now you do. But one afternoon, when Emily reached the plaza, something was different. Mr. Alden wasn't there. His usual spot was empty, the bench cold, the violin case missing. Emily's heart pounded. She waited 15 minutes, then 30, then an hour, still nothing. A gnawing panic crawled into her stomach. The next day he wasn't there either. Or the day after. Finally, Emily gathered her courage and walked to the small community shelter she knew he sometimes visited. Inside, she asked the woman at the front desk, "Do you know an elderly violin player? White hair, long coat, name's Mr. Alden." The woman's expression softened. "Sweetheart, he's at the hospital." Emily's breath caught. She rushed across town, heart beating like a drum. When she entered the hospital room, she saw him lying in a bed, thin and pale, oxygen tube beneath his nose. His violin was on the nightstand, as if it stayed by his side like a loyal friend. "Mr. Alden," Emily whispered. His eyes fluttered open. "Emily, you found me. I looked everywhere," she said, wiping tears. He laughed weakly. "You're a stubborn one. What happened?" she asked. His smile faltered. "My heart. It's old. It's tired. Some days are harder now." Emily sat beside him, holding the wooden violin case. "I brought it," she said. "In case you wanted to play." He shook his head. "No, sweetheart. Today, you play for me." Her breath trembled. "But what if I mess up? Then I'll be the first to applaud your mistakes." Emily lifted the violin. Her hands shook, but she placed the bow firmly on the string. She began to play. The notes weren't perfect, but they were alive. Mr. Alden closed his eyes, letting the music wash over him. When she finished, he whispered, "You've given me more than music today. You've given me purpose again." 2 weeks later, Mr. Alden passed away in his sleep. The violin was left to Emily, along with a handwritten note. He playing, not to be perfect, but to stay alive inside. Years passed. Emily grew into confidence, into talent, into passion. In high school she joined the orchestra. In college she studied music education. And on the anniversary of Mr. Alden's passing, she returned to Quincy Market with his violin. Standing in the same spot he once played, she began to perform his favorite melody. People stopped, listened, smiled. A little girl walked up shyly, exactly as Emily once had. "That was really pretty," she said. Emily lowered the violin, smiling warmly. "Do you want to try?" The girl nodded timidly. Emily placed the violin into her hands, and just like that the cycle began again, because sometimes one small act of kindness doesn't just change a life, it multiplies across generations. And if you listen closely on a winter afternoon in Boston, you can still hear Mr. Alden's music through the hands of the girl he once believed in.